and we're going to create a box where the console table will sit. So we'll just create a box roughly about here, like so, and we'll go to our front viewport and adjust it on the Z axis to about 750. Like so. So pull it out a wee bit. If we apply an edit poly here, just going to adjust these vertices, move a wee bit closer to the wall, right there, and these one away from the doorway slightly. So we just isolate our shape, and just going to give it a bit more height, about there. If you select your edge tool under edit poly, we'll select down the middle, and we'll go to connect. We'll just create two lines here, two segments, just there, and OK that. This is where the draw will be. So if we bring these edges round here, go to connect and connect one segment, we'll just pull this up slightly, just about there. Okay, that's good. So if we select this face here, just where the draw is, shift and drag on the Y axis, and clone to object, we'll call this draw. So we'll come back to this in a minute, once we complete the tabletop. So we can now just select these edges here, and just bridge these across. Like so. We'll just delete the bottom faces here. Next, what I'm going to do is, under selection, select edge again, highlight down here, and we'll connect one segment. That's perfect. So I'm just going to delete the polys on one half of the desk, like so, and adjust my pivot point to the centre. That's good. The reason I deleted the one half of the desk is so I can apply a symmetry later on, and it just gives me less work to do because I only need to work on one half. So under edit poly, we'll select edges again, and we'll select all the edges on the lower half, like so, and the top half here as well. That's good. We'll just apply a chamfer here, and about 1mm looks about right. You can see we've got some triangles here, so I'll show you how to remove these. If you go to your vertices, we'll just select this one, turn on your 3D snap, and snap it on the x-axis to this point. We'll do the same with this point, on the z-axis to that point. If you highlight over these, there'll be two there, and we'll just weld these together. You can see it's removed one. OK that. I'll show you again round the other side. Just select this vertex here, snap it up to that one there, snap it back along, select the two of them, and weld. This ensures we're only working with quads. Deselect that. Okay, so we'll just apply our symmetry modifier now. And you can see it's just replicated this half. Perfect. So over your symmetry modifier, we'll apply an edit poly again, and select the top faces of the table. Just going to shift and drag this on the Z axis, clone to object, and we'll call this glass. Deselect your edit poly and select our glass object. Just going to adjust the pivot to the centre, and under modifiers apply a shell modifier. Just give that a 0 on the inner, and we'll do it with 5mm on the outer, just to ensure the pivot point stays at the bottom. We'll apply an edit poly on top of that, and we'll select all the edges of the object. If you go to your front viewport, we're just going to deselect these central vertical segments, and go to your top viewport, we'll just deselect all of them in the centre. just ensuring here that it's only the outside edges that are selected. So just zoom in here. I'm going to chamfer these edges, like so, but at this time I'm going to apply some segments. So we'll do about 10. If you just deselect your object, you can see slightly face it, so if you select that again, go to your modifiers, just apply a normal smooth modifier and turn on auto smooth, and that's smoothed that up very nicely. So we go to our front viewport now. Just going to move this back down to the table, like so. That'll be our glass top. So next we'll go back to the drawer, we'll put the pivot point to the centre here, and under Edit Poly we'll select all the edges. If you just shift and drag these on the Y axis, something like that will do it. Just delete the top face, and we'll bridge these two edges across. Like so. On top of your Edit Poly, we want to apply a shell modifier, and instead of outer amount this time, we'll do it on the inner, do about 8mm. On top of the shell, we'll apply an Edit Poly, and we're just going to select all the top edges here, and the bottom. So, and the verticals on the outside. And I'm just going to apply a chamfer again, this time probably about 0.5mm. Okay, so we can just pull the draw back in now, like so. And if we open up the material editor, we can just apply some standard V-Ray materials for the time being, to differ between the objects. So that's the main geometry on the top of the console table complete. So if we go to our top viewport, we'll just create a box just over here, and the dimensions will make around 400 by 380 by about 80. Just drag that over here. So go to your front viewport. I'm just going to pull this up to around just at the top of the legs here of the console table, and just pull it back over. If you select the console table and the box we created and isolate these, we're going to just do a similar idea of what we've done here to the tabletop here. So we'll just create an Edit Poly on this box, select our edges, select all the edges on the box, and we'll just apply a chamfer. 1mm will be about fine. If we now select Polygon, select the soft face again, similar to the console table, we'll shift and drag this on the Z axis, and we'll clone to object and call this glass. Deselect the Edit Poly. So if you select your glass object, we will centre our pivot, and we'll apply a shell modifier. Just around about 5mm, the same as the glass top over on the console table. So if we apply an Edit Poly on top of this, just select all the edges and we'll chamfer them. Do about 0.5mm and again about 10 segments. So you can see still a bit facey, so we'll just select our object and apply a normal smooth modifier. If you just tick auto smooth again, so if we go to our front viewport, we'll just drag this down to the top of the side table, like so. So what we're going to do now is use the legs we created here and just drag them over and we'll edit them to fit our side table. So if we just select the legs, and shift and drag these, and just make them a copy. We don't want the legs on the console table to change if we edit these ones, so ensure you slightly copy. I'm just going to detach them from this group, and we'll just pull them over into position like so. If we go back to our original edit poly on this stack, we can just pull these over like so. And just pull these back anywhere roughly around the centre of our box. Go to your front viewport, we'll just pull them down as it's a different height. So if you deselect your edit poly and select your symmetry, you can see it's still over here. So if you just activate your symmetry by selecting it, and we'll just drag this back over. You can see we've got a slight gap here, so if you go to your edit poly, we'll select vertex, and if you switch on your toggle show end result, and we'll show cage in your edit poly settings, we can just select these vertices and you can see these parts joined together, like so. We'll just deselect our edit poly, and now our legs fit. We also want to use the feet, so if we just shift and drag this to make a copy, and again detach from the group. Just going to position these now, shift and drag. We can make this one an instance, and shift and drag these on the y-axis, like so. And we'll just apply a different material to the glass top, so we can tell the difference between the objects. If you select all these objects, and we'll just go to group, we'll group these together as side table, and I'm just going to close the group of the console table like so. So now we have just created our side table. It was the same design as the console table, and very easy to steal parts. Just ensure when you're copying parts from one object to another, you make them a copy and not an instance if they're going to change in size, because if you make them an instance and you start, like for example, editing these legs, we don't want these legs to start changing, so ensure they're copied over instead of instanced.